Okay, so today I'm going to introduce you to the parts of speech because you need to understand that in order to do any diagramming of sentences at all. One of the most important things about the grammar course for people who are going to be high school teachers or middle school teachers is the ability to learn how to diagram sentences. This is one of the things that we have been told in the English department is a requirement for you. So, to begin, let's cover the basic ground. I hope that you were given access to this as a middle schooler or a high schooler yourself, but I know that that depends entirely on which schools you went to. So your basic parts of speech: your noun, basic things, proper nouns, for example, someone's name, or common nouns, like car, so Chris or car, anything like that. Your pronoun, obviously, she, he, I. These are going to be the core of the first part of a sentence, unless it is a question. Questions will be an exception to this rule. But when you go to diagram the sentence, the first part of the diagram is inevitably going to contain your noun or your pronoun. So, this is inevitably part of the subject of your sentence. With your noun and your pronoun, usually you also have what are called articles and determiners. They are related to each other. Articles are quite simply the words a, an, and the. Determiners are broader than this. Your textbook for this course actually subsumes articles under determiners. So articles are a type, one type, of determiner. Make a box around that. So, the determiners can be a, an, and the, but also this, that, and possessive pronouns, such as hers, his, and my, and our, for that matter. Ours. So, inevitably, the first part of your sentence is made of either a noun or a pronoun, or sometimes both, and an article and a determiner in some cases. Also, in the first part of your sentence, very often, adjectives. Quite simply, an adjective is anything that describes a noun or a pronoun. Words that describe nouns or pronouns. So, Chris is tall. The car is blue. That kind of thing. Very straightforward. In the second part of your sentence, when you go to diagram, there's a line through the diagram to separate these parts. The second part of your sentence is the predicate. That's inevitably where you will find your verb in almost all cases. Again, questions can be an exception to this. Your verb is any action word. So, run, walk, talk, hide. Anything that denotes an action. Sometimes with verbs, you have adverbs. Again, almost inevitably in the predicate, there are some exceptions. When it comes to grammar, there are very often exceptions. Just the way the English language works because it was pieced together from other languages. So we're a real mix. Your adverbs. Not all adverbs do this, but many adverbs end in the letters ly. So, He walked quickly. He talked quickly. That kind of thing. Obviously, other descriptions. How fast did he run? Very fast. Word very is inevitably involved in some adverbs. Other adverbs, though, are explaining when something is, where it is in time. I did that yesterday, for example. So you're almost to the point of thinking about part of the journalist questions. When did it happen? How did it happen? It happened quickly. And other similar situations. Alright, so again, one more time. Often in the subject, your nouns, your pronouns, your articles or determiners, and your adjectives, and your predicate, verbs, and adverbs. Also involved in the parts of speech are prepositions. Understanding prepositions is very important to keep track of the diagrams in this class. Confusion here can be a real problem. One of your past teachers may have said, prepositions are anything that a rabbit can do to a stump, or some similar phrase like that. So the rabbit can go over the stump, it can theoretically go under the stump, can go around the stump, it can jump upon the stump, it can be, well, of doesn't really fit the rabbit and stump phrase. But these kind of generally small words that show up in the English language, we use of quite a bit, are your prepositions. And your textbook has a huge list of them for you to refer to, and you can also Google them quite easily. Keeping track of the prepositions, again, very important for diagramming because it changes where information is when it is diagrammed. The final part of speech that we will be discussing, some people say there are 8 parts of speech. You can almost argue that there are 9. It depends on how you're counting the articles and the determiners. Conjunctions. Conjunctions create a connection between sentences. You are probably most familiar with the simple conjunctions, such as but, and, nor, for, and or. But there are such things as subordinating conjunctions. There are a different class, such as, for example, although and though. Although I went to the dance, I didn't get to actually dance with someone, for example. Starting the sentence, it's a phrase, starting that phrase with the word although, a subordinating conjunction, makes that part of the sentence subordinate to the main sentence which was, I did not get to dance. So, this is something that we'll talk about later in the course. This is just a quick introduction to the parts of speech. Your textbook will be asking you to identify the parts of speech in the second chapter and practice doing that. The biggest thing I notice as it concerns, students trying to deal with things, they're trying to decide sometimes whether something is an adjective or an adverb. So you have to think about what it's describing. Is it describing an action, or is it describing a thing? Also, they sometimes get confused with the determiners. In your textbook, they just say the determiner. So again, if you're pointing out a specific thing, the book, this book, a book, my book, her book, that's when it's a determiner.